is not expected to fly again. They will probably, if not definitely, reuse all of the avionics in it. And in fact, a subset of the avionics is actually required for Artemis II. So the Artemis II crew module is sort of sitting slightly disassembled, waiting for some of those avionics boxes and navigations computers, or the navigations devices. And so they are intending at some point to begin reusing as much as perhaps as the entire structure. Obviously, the heat shield is uses an ablative material called Avcoat. It's the same type of material that was used with Apollo.
Right.
But it will obviously that ablates away. But they're going to be looking to reuse the main structure of the crew module and perhaps even some of the heat shield structure eventually, okay. And all of the it's still a working crew module when it comes back, and so again, Lockheed Martin's prime contractor. They're hoping that they can reuse as much of it as possible.
And,
Gotcha.
and the sort of sequencing of this is the ones from Artemis 1 and 2 are not planned to be reused in their entirety, just the subsets that Philip sort of said. And then new builds for 3, 4, and 5, but then the ones from 3, 4, and 5 get reused on 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 in that sort of rolling order at that point.
Gotcha. So it's supposed to be like it's designed for reuse, but the first ones that fly aren't going to just be, okay, put another rocket underneath it and ship it again, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense. Makes sense. Let's see here. I'm still grabbing questions, and I know we're going to start running out of time here. We had about an hour, so they are going to have to pack up. I think we've got 15 minutes or so. Let me grab a couple super chats real quick. John Smith from Australia again. Thank you so much for the 10 Australian dollars. Lars Nuttenboom, pointy end up, flamey end down. I like it. Yes, they have it in the correct orientation there on the pad, Lars. Thank you so much for the euros this morning. Let's see. We've got Kylie Williams, a new Kate Bush song, Crawling Up That Hill. I don't listen to enough music these days, I guess. Thank you, Kylie. You're still watching with the Australian dollars there. D. Shenik. Why is the rocket started from a hill? That's a great question. See, the hill is slightly closer to space. And so you can have a little bit more performance by putting it slightly closer to space by rolling it up that hill at the beginning. I made that up. That's, I mean, technically true, technically correct, which is the best kind of correct.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
Didn't Scott Manley do a video about does launching from a mountain actually help? And he did the math, and like the difference is negligible, even if you're at one of like the Chinese launch sites that's literally on top of a mountain.
But it technically does help, even if it's a negligible amount. The hill is there.
Propellant grain in the SRB.
There you go. The hill is there mostly for the exhaust management, right? We're in Florida. Yes. We're not going to dig underground because we're literally right next to the ocean here. And you can't dig a basement or anything. So they've raised the rocket up on a massive concrete structure, and that gave them some room for those GSE pipes that go around. And I guess mostly it gets the rocket higher from the ground so that there's room for the exhaust to be channeled out in the direction they want, as opposed to just reflecting directly back up to the rocket. That actually brings us to a very interesting question. Do we know how far it is from the bottom of the engines, SRBs or the RS-25s, to the bottom of the flame trench? And how does that compare with what we see down at Starbase with the orbital launch mount or the tripod up at McGregor? Do we know what that distance is?
Hang on.
Hang on.
Hang on.
It's in the reference materials.
There's a reference material. I got to figure out... yes, I can get that if we want to get a different question.
Yes, I will keep going with the questions. Chris is going to cross-reference that information, but that is a really good question. Like, how does this sort of balance against the size of the other orbital Artemis rocket launch mounts, I guess we could even say, right? Ticonderoga. Just my usual contribution. Love the Q&A stream. Ticonderoga, thank you so much for joining us this early in the morning. Sandwich Maker has given us enough money for a couple sandwiches in Australian dollars. Sandwich Maker, thank you so much for the support. Jonathan Jansen says, Hello from the Netherlands. Are there enough crewed Artemis launches to sustain a healthy program? Apollo had 4 crewed launches in 1969 alone. Philip, really quickly, let's talk about cadence. Are we looking at, like, once we get all the way into crewed launches, are we looking at 1 per year, 1 every 2 years? Certainly, I don't think we're doing 4 a year, right?
Right. We don't have quite the same urgency as Apollo did for the lunar landing by the end of the decade goal. And in fact, so yes, it's 1 per year. And actually, from a maybe severe trivia standpoint, the Apollo program was ready to fly more than 4.
Finding your comfort level can be a little tricky these days. Take a look at nyprojecthope.org.
4 missions in 1969 if they needed Apollo 12 or Apollo 13 and probably even Apollo 14 to reach the goal. If they needed 2 or 3 or 4 more tries, they were ready to fly. They were ready to fly additional Saturn V rockets right behind Apollo 11 if they needed to. But for this system and for the we don't have time to talk about all of the costs, but in terms of cost sizing, right now Orion is working on a one vehicle per year cadence.
Gotcha. In chat, like, I can't hide what I did. Y'all saw what I did there. The subliminal merch plug really quickly. I fooled myself because when I draw on the screen, what I actually do is I put a copy of that up in a way that I can draw on it. And I just pull the old switcheroo and I switch between the drawing copy and the non-drawing copy. Like, I'm literally switching back and forth between them right now. And y'all see the little zoom? Like, it barely does a little teeny tiny zoom when I'm from drawing mode and not drawing mode. And I apparently tricked myself, and I was on drawing mode when I went to queue up the merch plug here for the end of the stream. Is what I was doing. Sorry about that. Oh no, which one am I on now? Okay, that's the right one. Okay. Whew. Okay. Sorry about that, y'all. That was not like a subliminal merch plug. It could be if you want me to show the merch again. I'm happy to show the merch again.
So I have the answer.
Okay, Chris, go.
Okay, so launches are conducted from the top of the concrete hard stands, which are 325, which themselves are 325 feet long, and they stand 55 feet above sea level at pad 39B for the hard stands.
Okay.
So add another 15, 20 feet for where the engines sort of hang down from there, and the engines would be about 75 feet above the base of the flame trench.
So from, like, roughly from the bottom, like the exit of the engine bell down to the floor of the flame trench is roughly 75 feet?
Roughly 75 feet, yeah.
Now, what's going to happen here is someone in the back channel is going to tell us exactly how tall the orbital launch mount is and what the distance between the Raptor to engine bell and the, I guess, ground at Boca is, as I talk slowly to see if someone is going to provide. I don't actually know exactly how many feet that is. I've never gone out there and measured it. There's a fence. Yes, people typing. Yes, continue to type. Uh-oh, there's a question mark behind Alex's answer here. You want me to say that out loud? Alex in our back channel thinks it's roughly about 20 meters, but we'll see if we can get a more specific answer there. Roughly 20 meters, so we said 75 feet, and 20 meters would be roughly 60 feet. Very roughly, I mean, that's a good enough estimate for 7:23
So they are about,
a.m.
which if you look over at 39A, which we can't do right now from this location, but if you were to look at 39A, that's about right, because the orbital launch mount sticks just up above the pad surface at 39A, so that would mean it's a little bit lower than what if you were sitting on the hard stands on 39A and 39B.
Makes sense. All right, cool. Y'all, sometimes when there's numbers like that, we do try to go get a source, and in some cases there's not like an absolutely official number, but that's roughly, like, I think, are those like deer
Space
walking
boars.
across?
Space boars. Yes, those are boars. Yes.
Really? Wait.
Yeah.
Hang on, let me get
Yeah.
rid of the ticker.
Space
There's-
Force. Yeah.
Wildlife going across the crawlerway, like wild boars, Chris?
Yeah. Yeah.
Kennedy
A
Space
family of
Center is
wild
a
boars.
wildlife refuge.
Oh,
Yes, it is, and we saw some of the residents there today.
Yes.
The
wild boars are actually
non-aquatic.
one of the common bits of wildlife you'll see around here, especially around launch pads. Definitely seen some over at Pad 40 as well.
Right,
Okay,
and mosquitoes.
you'd think that it'd be like busy enough there with the cars going back and forth and stuff, but I guess it's quite a distance from where the camera is out there. They were sort of crossing in the middle of the crawlerway there. No kidding.
They're also really used to the workers there, and there are large signs that watch out for wildlife, stop for them.
Yeah,
It's a yeah.
All right.
Yes to all of that.
No kidding. I saw something going. I'm like, what is? Those aren't people walking. What is that? Space boars, apparently. Let me grab the super chats. We'll get a couple more questions. We are coming to the end of the stream. Sandwich Maker with 20 more Australian dollars for the RS-25 Recovery Fund.
Mhm.
I mean, I know a guy who's recovered RS-25s from the bottom of the ocean, but we'll leave that for another stream. Sandwich Maker, thank you so much for the support. You could see him at Museum of Flight out
Yep.
in not RS-25. Sorry, those are F1 engines that they actually.
Yeah, I
built
was
on the
gonna
bottom of the
say.
ocean. Yeah, thank you. Not RS-25s, but F1 engines. But Sandwich Maker, thank you so much for the support. Vatsyayana, let's see. To learn both. Oh, I guess they're telling us about the Kate Bush songs. It's a Stranger Things thing. It's quite old. It was amazing well before.
Oh, is that's the song from Stranger Things?
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for learning us there. Declan O'Loughlin, more Australian dollars. Wow, these early streams are pulling in the Australian dollars. Thank you, Declan, for the support. And Alessandra with some euros as well. There's a strong representation of the Australian and European viewing contingent here this morning. Let's see if we can't grab just a couple more questions. Okay, we've got that. Bacon on the hoof. Yes, thank you. Oh gosh, it's a good thing Jack wasn't here. There was literally live bacon on the screen. Let's see here. Here's a good question. I think I know the answer, but True 88, the infamous shuttle twang, where they would light up the engines and the shuttle would do its little rock back and forth before it took off. We don't expect SLS to do a twang because it doesn't have off-axis engines, correct? Either one.
Bingo.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah, so you got the twang on the shuttle because the engines were sort of hanging off the side. I mean, the entire shuttle was hanging off the side and pointed at an angle. So when you spooled up those RS-25s, it would actually rock the whole stack back and forth. The tip of the stack would go back like a couple feet, right, Chris?
25 feet.
25 feet. Okay, the tip of the stack, like the top of the rocket, would move horizontally 25 feet. And that's only because the engines were sort of hanging off the side. SLS, all the engines are sort of right there on the center line or symmetrically put around the center line. The SRBs are on the side, like opposite each other. The RS-25s right at the bottom of the rocket. There's nothing hanging off the side of this rocket, as much as some people try to Photoshop shuttles hanging off the side. But we don't expect SLS to do a twang whenever it comes off the pad.
And in fact, that is why they do not have to have hold down bolts with SLS, where they had to with Shuttle because of that rock back and forth. The boosters were literally bolted to the launch pad, and they had to pyrotechnically blow them 0.3 of a second prior to solid rocket ignition in the countdown. But because there's no twang or offset thrust on SLS, it's literally just guide pins that are in the SRB that are like keeping the SRBs aligned during main engine startup, basically. But it is the physical weight of SLS that will hold it to the pad while the 4 RS-25s are igniting in that 6.8 second sequence prior to liftoff.
Gotcha. All right, y'all, we are coming up to, I believe we're going to have to pack up the camera and move away. I know I've been personally sort of focusing on infrastructure questions as much as we could. We've been talking about the pad and the flame trench, and the wedding band isn't really infrastructure, but we're close enough to see it. I didn't actually know that. And we are actually going to do a couple streams like this over the coming week plus as we approach the actual launch date here. Currently, again, scheduled for Monday, the 29th of August. what is that, 7, 8, 9, 10, about 10 days from now, we're going to have a couple different opportunities to do streams like this. And just because we go live with Artemis doesn't mean that it's launching yet. We are, of course, going to stream it on launch day. But whenever we go through that, we're going to try to answer different types of your questions. So today, looking at the pad, had the awesome crawler down there, I guess the big pillars that it sits on and all that sort of stuff. Hey, we'll see water coming out of that water tower at some point, right? Is that water tower going to do
Yep.
the full indication?
It will do the full thing, yes.
Of course, the 3 towers that are there, the lightning mitigation system with the catenaries. There's an entire video about how the lightning system works, so we didn't talk too much about the towers today. But Chris actually did some narration for a really cool video that explains a lot about the lightning towers.
And a big thanks to NASA for letting us out there at 39B to film and to talk to one of the subject matter experts for that. Yep.
Absolutely. And another super chat. Remy Turk, is the crossing wildlife the reason the crawler goes so slowly?
I don't think they'd have a problem stopping the crawler for wildlife.
Yeah,
No.
not really. That's not a thing. Let's see here. Chris. Oh, this is actually a question about the NSF meetup. Are we still planning on doing like a meetup in the time running up to Artemis 1?
We are, and stay tuned for more information. If you are if you are one of our channel members, Capcom level or above, and have access to the Discord, it's the Meetups channel in our Discord. And if you are not a member of, if you're a Red Team member or are not with Capcom or don't have Discord, but you are interested, my DMs are open. Please let me know through DMs that you are interested in attending, and we'll pass along the information.
Gotcha. All right. Oh, okay. If we could do this one quickly, this one actually I'm very curious about, but we are just about out of time. We got to give Thomas time to pack up. But very quickly, right? We've talked about the best the best roller coaster at the Space Coast. Some of the pads actually have zip lines through egress, right? And it's a physical line that goes from near where the crew enter the rocket down to a safe area. But for SLS, the tower moves. So do they temporarily run lines, or is there like a really fast elevator? How does the crew egress from the tower if they need to get out in a hurry for this, I guess, design?
Yeah.
Philip,
So
Chris, who wants that one?
Yeah, the
Go.
quick answer to this is for Artemis 1, there is no slide wire system. There is no something like that. So if crews working on the tower needed to get off, they would have to run down it.
Right, and there's no crew on the mission either. There's no astronauts riding Artemis 1. Okay.
Exactly. And but for Artemis 2 and beyond, because we will have crew, because that means teams will have to be at the pad after the vehicle is fueled and on the tower and everything, there is a plan to run temporary wire to string the wires once the vehicle rolls out to the pad to provide that escape system. But then for the crew, after crew access arm retract at a certain point, they activate the launch escape system. So Orion would pull away from the vehicle for the crew.
They do literally, I'm going to use the term RIP, the launch abort system, the rocket motors on the very tippy top of the rocket there will actually pull the crew capsule away if need be, correct?
Yes, but not like with SpaceX where like as soon as the vehicle starts fueling, because the crew will actually board after the vehicle is fueled, which is what creates that need for that other emergency get off that tower situation.
Makes sense. But they are planning on like stringing slide wires after the crew is in position, or after the tower is in position, I guess.
That is the plan, yes. That is the plan.
Yeah. All right.
I'm disappointed that Das entered that conversation talking about a roller coaster and didn't mention the Ares 1 roller coaster. That's totally where I thought he was going.
I thought we were too, and I was trying to be good on timing. But since Thomas mentioned it, yes, the predecessor to this program and where this rocket sort of comes from, the Constellation program, had the idea that their crew escape system from the top of the tower would literally be a roller coaster.
Oh, jeez. All right, folks, we've gone a couple minutes over here. I know exactly what Thomas is talking about, but I was just going with the ride there. But we have not overstate our welcome, really, but it's 7:34. We were anticipating being live until about 7:30, so it is going to be time for us to wrap up here. Speed running some thanks real quick. Another Artemis super chat from Alessandra Bazoffi there. Thank you so much. Goat Pilot 04, thank you as well. Dave Cowdrey, actually. Is this Florida Danger Cam? Will this be a shot on launch day? This will not be a shot on launch day. They're out taking some sunrise photos this morning, Dave, and we just had permission to temporarily do a little bit of a live stream here from the crawlerway. Thank you so much for the Australian dollars. And then Goat Pilot, again, thank you for the support. We are going to have to be closing out the stream here, so thank y'all all for all the support. One thing really quickly, folks, we do have some of our cool Road to Artemis merch. There's apparently some Stranger Things fans in chat, so there's a little bit of like a retro design here. It's actually got a neon version of the NASA spaceflight logo on the back. But if you want to continue to support what we're doing here, specifically our coverage of Artemis, maybe hop over there. There's like mouse pads and stuff like that, a coffee mug. You got t-shirt designs and stuff. Apparently our Discord was all about this design. We sort of floated the idea to the Discord at first, but trying to see if anybody else is interested in it, watching the numbers in the shop over there. So if you want to help support what we're doing and you like sort of the retro synth wave, et cetera, neon, whatever, cyberpunk, we do have that shirt and other things in the shop that you can use to help us keep on keeping on. For now, though, I will leave you with a view of the rocket. Really quickly, everybody involved with the stream, Chris Gebhardt, thank you so much for being with us today. Also, Philip Sloss, we appreciate you joining and helping us out with some Q&A. Out in the field, Thomas Berghardt, he's out there as well, operating the camera. Thomas, thank you so much for being there. And Mr. Steve Marr as well. Be on the lookout for his social media. He's going to be posting up some of these when he gets a chance, I think was the answer from Thomas there. But that is going to bring us to the end of our Q&A stream today. We are going to do a couple more of these as the road to Artemis progresses, et cetera, et cetera. But we really do appreciate y'all hanging out with us. I am actually going to send you over to McGregor Live, where you can see some live engine testing today. The window is just about to open for engine tests over there in, what is it, about 20 minutes. And so if you're interested in seeing some live fire testing from the SpaceX facility up in McGregor, Texas, that's the next stream that'll be coming up. But for now, let's roll the outro music, and we will see you nerds later. Thanks for joining us, y'all.
Liftoff. Propulsion continues to be nominal.
The chamber pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger, roll, planet.
Water towers can fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal. Pilot downside, SCE off. Say again, SCE off. Off. Yikes. You bet. Concur. We don't need any more of these.
I mean, seriously, y'all, look at that flare stack action. How can you not be excited for engine tests? We'll see y'all later.
Bother the bugs, not your family. Zevo uses essential oils, which attack bugs' biological systems. It gets rid of the bugs, plus is safe for use around people and pets. Gotcha. Zevo, people friendly, bug deadly.
This is Artemis Launch Control at T-minus 40 minutes and holding. I just spoke with Launch Director Charlie Blackwell Thompson, who said that her team is still working on a troubleshooting plan for engine number 3 that had the issue with the engine bleed. She's still waiting for more information about that. Engineers are still discussing it and going over some modeling and data. And once they have that ready, they're going to come back to her and have a discussion. And so she says that she's awaiting that. And we are standing by. Again, at T-minus 40 minutes. We'll have more information when we get it. This is Artemis Launch Control with an update. Launch Director Charlie Blackwell Thompson has called a scrub for today. Again, Launch Director Charlie Blackwell Thompson has called a scrub of the attempt of launch of Artemis I and the Space Launch System with the Orion spacecraft. The issue that came up was an engine bleed that couldn't be remedied, but the rocket is currently in a stable configuration. It was mostly tanked, but not completely tanked. Engineers are now working on a plan to continue gathering data about this particular engine and the bleed that didn't work out. The rocket, the hydrogen bleed rather, was a goal of the previous wet dress rehearsal that didn't happen due to a hydrogen leak. So engineers are focused on gathering as much data as they can at this time. So they have not gone to draining the rocket just yet. They're going to keep it in its current configuration and gather that data. To summarize, we held at T-minus 40 minutes and counting after the team was unable to get past engine bleed that didn't show the right temperature once they got into the engine bleed test. And ultimately, the launch director has called a scrub for the day. The earliest opportunity, depending on what happens with this engine bleed, would be September 2nd. That is available to the launch team. However, we will await a determination of what the plan is to go forward to remedy the engine bleed and then go from there. Again, an availability to launch, the next availability to launch is 12:48 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday, September 2nd. But we must wait to see what shakes out from their test data that they're currently gathering now and the decision that's made by the launch team about where to go from here. We appreciate you watching NASA TV and our coverage of the Artemis I launch attempt. This is Gerald Nail with NASA Communications signing off from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Thank you.
Did you know that if you were born after 2000, during your entire life there has been someone living in space? That's thanks to the International Space Station, which celebrated its 20th anniversary of continuous human habitation in 2020. You've probably heard a lot about the incredible science that happens on board the station, but the outside is actually prime real estate for all kinds of experiments and technology development too.
The International Space Station is a great platform to demonstrate servicing technology because it provides power, data, there's robotics in space.
With Tech on Deck, we'll be talking about some key experiments that have taken place outside in the harsh environment of space, which will help us advance human exploration.
Nexus is NASA's Exploration and In-Space Services Project Division at the Goddard Space Flight Center. The goal of the division is to usher in a new era of more sustainable, affordable, and resilient spaceflight, both near the Earth, around the Moon, and deep into the solar system. Many members of the Nexus team started off with the Hubble telescope servicing missions. We've taken that technology, applied that to robotic servicing.
From robotic refueling missions that will help spacecraft live longer and journey farther to autonomous navigation systems, NASA's Exploration and In-Space Services Division has taken advantage of the wonderful opportunity station offers to test new technologies. As we look to exploring our solar system and beyond, and establishing a sustained human presence in space beyond low Earth orbit, many of these technologies will play a key role.
We use the robots on Space Station to demonstrate the technologies needed to enable satellite servicing in the future. We've also used the robots on Space Station to do some of the more repetitive tasks or the dangerous tasks that astronauts shouldn't be doing, like going outside the space station to try to look for ammonia leaks. Robots are very good at moving fine, delicate positions, moving back and forth, doing those sorts of tasks that would be challenging for humans to do.
In order to live in space, astronauts will first need to reach their far-out destinations like Mars. This will require refueling and replenishment of oxygen supplies, things the robotic refueling missions worked to demonstrate on station. They will also need to be able to construct, maintain, and repair their habitats, as well as adapt to unforeseen circumstances.
Because we're in space in low Earth orbit, we have lighting conditions that are representative of objects in space, and so allows us to launch tools and modules into orbit